Production access granted for Google Play Store and pending for Apple App Store. That is the theme for this week. Hello, you're watching the development vlog for Shokken, a restaurant waitlist management tool that is currently available on Google Play Store and soon to be available on Apple App Store. This is Bill from Shokken, and this is week 64 of development. The current status, as you just heard, that Google just approved my production access to the Play Store last week, which means that the app, the Android version of the app, is currently ready and available for download by the general public. This app uses the latest, most stable version of the front end, and it reads and hits the most stable and secured version of my backend. I also submitted my application for production access on Apple App Store, but I believe that is a bit more involved than Play Store access. In other words, the iOS version of it would take a bit longer for them to review, and I honestly don't really think that I would pass in the first go. From my understanding, very few people actually do. That said, I think I've put everything in motion, and at this point the ball is in their court. And if they find something they don't like, they're going to reach back out to me, and I'm going to fix that before I resubmit the review. In any case, long time coming. Looking at the calendar, it's exactly 1 year, 3 months, and 20 days for this entire journey to come to a point where things are now published and ready for download by the general public, as opposed to being in the alpha or beta testing phase of it. That said, I have the humility to understand that I probably have only finished about 15 to 20% of the goal. Development of the product itself is only a tiny fraction of the success of any business or tool. And starting from this point on, I can no longer sort of hide behind the comfort of the hobbies of engineering, writing stuff on the app, and coming up with nice and fancy backend and stuff. I now am tasked with the responsibility and the mission to sell the product. In other words, I have to get people to, number one, hear that this exists. Because the app is so new, my domain is so cold. If you search for the app, unless you search specifically for the name Shokken, it's not going to show up on Google. That's number one. Number two, if you search on the Google Play Store, it's not going to show up. If you search for QR waitlist, QR code waitlist, text waitlist and stuff like that, it's not going to show up. The existing competitors on the market would show up first, and that's just fact of life. That's something that I have to deal with. There are some techniques I learned from online with regards to what you can do to warm up your domain, improve your App Store optimization. That I need to do a lot of. I need to do quite a bit more wordsmithing with the description, with the title. This is all science. This is all big part of the marketing things that typically engineers don't think about until you start trying to sell your product to the general public. So I need to come up with better descriptions of the app and hooks and ways to get people to search for the right words for my app to surface. And the other part of it is patience, right? And it's going to take a little time for indexes to catch up with your product and for it to become comfortable with the idea that you're not just spam on the internet, which there's a lot of now, as you can imagine, because of the advent of AI. There's a lot of sloppy apps that are written with AI without care. I personally don't have a problem, just to be clear, I personally don't have any problem with using AI. I believe it's a powerful tool. I myself use it all the time, but I think it's the care and the guardrails that you put in place to guide the tool, to use the tool correctly. That's the differentiator going forward for software developers and people who sell products. In any case, so the long and short of it, the Android app is listed. iOS app is expected to be listed soon enough. And the next phase of it is going to be getting the initial users, not just the testers. And thank you very much if you've participated in my testing. I appreciate that. Getting the initial users to onboard. Now, if you're at all interested, I will include the link in the description. And because we're already in production, especially on Android, in order to access some of the features that are paywalled, in other words, SMS text messaging. In my app, you can use the waitlist, the QR waitlist for free for however many waitlists you want to create. It's for free. But as soon as you start wanting to send text messaging, there will be a subscription, simply because the text messaging costs a lot of money to hook up in the back end, and every single text that anybody sends would cost money. And if you do it for free, you're not going to be in business for long enough for other people to be able to enjoy the product. And if you do want to test, if you do want to be experiencing what the app can do, and do need a license for that, simply reach out to me. Again, if you read the link in the description, as well as my email address in the description, you can reach out to me with your email address that you have signed up in the app. And what I can do is easily just granting a free license in the backend, as opposed to having you going through the purchase process. Now, just to be clear, if you do want a free license, don't purchase the license and then ask for a refund. I won't be able to do that. In fact, there's a lot of complications with refunds and stuff, and then also that'll kill the listing for you, because that's typically a signal to the store that something's gone wrong. So make sure, if you do want a free license, reach out to me directly for the license to be assigned. And of course, we can also go through the troubleshooting process if you've run into issues with any of the app, or if you have any ideas or interesting points to share with the app. So the goal for next week, I would imagine for the next couple weeks, would be to come up with different marketing materials for different platforms. Chief of which, the most important ones, are the ones on the website. I'm still trying to make a video for it. In other words, showing people how to use the app. And on the website, by the way, on the website, I already have the QR code, a mock interface for what your guests see, right? There's a QR code on a website. If you go to Shokken, SHOKKEN.RSVP, you'll see that there's a QR code and there's a sign. That's what your app would look like if you're a host. And then that's actually a live QR code that you can scan that hits my production backend, and then you can pretend to be a guest of your business and see the experience of your guest. So that is already on the website. What I want to do is to show how to use the app in the backend. Not in the backend, how to use this app as a host. And I probably will record a video and put it on the website. In addition to that, I am going to improve the screenshots that I've uploaded to the respective app stores. I don't know if you've noticed, if you see any of the popular apps on the app stores, they have screenshots, right? But they're all very neat screenshots with like a phone frame at the bottom with what shows on the screen, and at the top there's some text verbiage about the goodness, the value proposition of the app. Currently, I don't have that. I only have raw screenshots, which makes it look, number one, not very nice, not very professional. Number two, I'm not selling it. I'm just sort of showing you, oh, these are the screens that you're going to see when you download this app. So I need to sell it, right? I need to convince my potential users, who might dwell on my page for no more than 5 to 15 seconds, if that this is something that they want to download and try. So these are two major goals that I have for the next couple of weeks. And in addition to that, I will probably start thinking about social media marketing. I honestly myself don't really use social media, because we know that a lot of it is brain rot. But if you want to do outreach for your product, you want other people to know, number one, your product exists, and number two, what it does, and number three, how it can help their business, you've got to do social media, and there's no way around that. So this is one of the uncomfortable things I have to learn. I have to learn how to use Instagram. I don't use Instagram. The only things I use Instagram for are the links that are sent to me by my friends who are on Instagram. And this incidentally also tells you how important Instagram is in terms of outreach. And to learn how to use Instagram, and to learn how to use Twitter or X, maybe I'll do something on LinkedIn, because perhaps some of the users of the app would try to figure out, hey, is this one of those vibe-coded AI apps that would steal all my information that doesn't come from a real person? So hopefully I can convince them, no, I am a real person. I have devoted a year and almost 4 months of my life to this thing. I want this thing to succeed as much as you want to use this thing to improve your business. So there's so many of those things that I need to take care of to let potential users know that, there's developer backing of this. There is genuine interest in maintaining this app and improving this app over time. So yeah, in summary, last week, production access to Google Play Store have been granted. Android app is listed. I have submitted the full application for production access on app iOS Store. That is still under review. I don't really have an ETA on that. They sent an email to you saying that, hey, 90% of the apps are reviewed within 48 hours. That has not yet been the case for me, so we'll see. And the goal for next couple weeks is to pivot from the addictive engineering part of the business to the marketing part of it. And I think one of the things that I'm thinking about doing at some point is perhaps coming up with physical copies of, like a one pager of what this app does and features and screenshots and whatnot, and show up in front of places where I believe they might use this with perhaps a coupon code to entice potential users to take a look at the app and see how it can improve their lives. That's it for this week. I will talk to you next week.